Hey everyone, and welcome to our new series, myself and Scrappy Names. So we're doing Scraplift Sundays, and we're going to start off with our favourite Inkie Quill. So I just started with my, I don't know how Amy did her process. You'll have to go check out her video just like me. I just sprayed some water on the paper. My cardstock is the Basil Marshmallow cardstock just this time. Don't always use it. And then I'm just spraying these colours on. So I haven't sped it up so fast so that you can't, that way you can, one, read what colours I've used, but also two, you can see how it works rather than speeding through this process and people feeling overwhelmed with mixed media. I find sometimes that either I'm rambling or it's going so fast that it's a bit tricky to work out what's exactly happening with the mixed media and learn those little techniques that sometimes you find from trial and error. But the beauty of YouTube is that we've got those tools to share, and it's nice to be able to watch it and see how it actually goes rather than speeding through. So let me know if that's something you prefer, and I will keep it up, or I'll do a mixture of the situation. So I just tilted the page a little just so that the colour could roll around a little, and I'm just using a paper towel to mop up some of the colour. I let it dry a little bit, but I'm only lightly dabbing so that all the colour doesn't come up, although that drip there did, so I redo that drip in a moment. And you can see that it could take off some of the colour, all the colour. It leaves a little bit of a print on it if you dab harder with a paper towel, especially if it's one of those textured paper towels. And I'm just going to go in with a little bit more colour, and this is going to be just the background. So keeping in mind that when you look at Inkie Quill's layout that I'm scrap lifting, that a lot of the colour is in the background just as an added effect rather than being the main focus. So I've put it here so that the bottom can show out, but the top can just be mostly cut. The middle part is mostly covered with the photo and the punched out circles and embellishments rather than it all being visible. Because sometimes when you are making a mixed media project, you can get overwhelmed and look at this now and go, that's not very nice. What on earth can I do with that? However, it actually, a lot of it gets covered up so that it's just an added detail rather than the main focus. Sometimes they are a main focus, like when I do like an art journal-y kind of a scrapbooking layout, then that's the situation, but this is not that situation. Oh my goodness. So here are my papers that I've pulled out to punch, and I've just shown you how it goes with that green. And I'm just going to use a circle punch just to punch out some of the circles, and I'm not going to make you watch all of them, but just do a couple, especially the ones that I like the background of as well. So some, because these papers are, a lot of them are from the Cocoa Vanilla U-Rock, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the U-Rock collection, and that is going to coordinate lovely, and that goes with that lovely pop of green. I didn't want to add blue in the background and have it overwhelmingly just swimming with blue tones. I like the fact that there's green and then there's this orangey yellowy mustard colour, the blue, bit of grey, some white, and the pops of green. So here's my photos. I'm just going to chop them down to size a little bit better. And this is when my son was very little and in childcare, just learning how to sit up. So you can see that there's a whole pile of cushions behind him. And literally these photos are taken within seconds of each other, and one he is happy and smiling, and the other one he has all of a sudden just started to cry. So that is quite funny as a little montage of two photos. Sorry about the little background noise. I'm filming when there's people in the house running around and wiping their nose and throwing the tissues in the bin, which is right next to me in the kitchen. So I thought about using this green tissue paper that we got with the Kidaholic kits when I got the U-Rock collection, but I thought when you look at it now, it overwhelms the page, so it brings that green right up to the top and just makes it too much of a focus. So instead I cover it with some, not cover it, but mat it with some vellum, just like Inkie Quill does in her layout that we're scrap lifting, and I'm going to add it up on some foam. So in this scrap lift this week, I did use Inkie Quill's process video and the photo of the layout quite heavily and copied a lot of it. Now when I scrap lift, and I don't do it all the time, but I do it often enough, I don't always scrap lift 100% of what's going on and add my own to it. Sometimes it's just parts of it, other times it's the majority like this is. So just having a little play here with the punched out shapes, so you can see how the colours just spread out nicely onto the paper. And then so I just have a little play with it, and then I'm going to end up committing to them and gluing them down. So I do glue them down with some wet glue and then add in some fun foam under the ones that need that lifting, because remember I put fun foam under my photos, and that's pretty much doing that. So it's a really simple layout to scrap lift and use use a lot of different pages, and scraps would be a good way. So if you've got a scrap box and you just pull out half a dozen or even 3 or 4 different types of pattern paper, you would get a lovely combination to use in these punched out shapes here. The other good reason that I'm using wet glue, not only because it's quicker, but 2, because I can move them around a little bit before they glue. So I've got a few moments here where I can add some tape, and then I can fiddle around with what's going on in terms of how they're sitting to make sure before they all continually stick, the glue dries. I don't know why I said grow, that's a bit crazy. Anyway, so you can see there I've added my fun foam, I've committed to the placement of them all, and I'm going to add that on there. I just moved these stars around because there was some brown on those stars and I didn't really want some brown. I actually cover it up later with a star embellishment, just so that it looks like it wasn't there at all and doesn't stand out, which it doesn't stand out so much, but it did, I'd seen it, so I wanted to make sure I covered it. The other awesome thing about scrap lifting this layout is that I had the same thickers in a glittery black. Adele used them in gold and I used them, and so I was like, what title could I use? And then when I was looking through my thickers, I was looking for a phrase, but then I found these and I was like, right, well, I'll just use the same title. That is pretty awesome. So that is really good. I've been watching Inkie for a long time and like a lot of her layouts, so being able to actually scrap lift it is an amazing thing to do. Has actually made it one, easier. The layout came together really easily, but 2, it was really fun to compare them and say that I could do something that she is doing. I'm just going through all these little embellishment boxes. So I went away for a crop back in July. Yeah, I think so, July, a retreat crop. And I packed up my boy goodies to do my eldest son, Patrick, who's in this photo, his album, and to work on that. So I have all these little embellishment boxes that have just got some, some of the boy colours, but also I do have other colours in there because I don't just necessarily do blue, green and yellow as boy colours for a whole album. I would be quite sick of that. But that's what I'm using, just pulling out the embellishment boxes and having a look for what I want. I found this piece of ephemera. Sorry, I'm just playing with my tablet there. This ephemera piece from the Little You collection and crepe paper, and I'm just cutting it out rather than using it as a block card. And I'm just going to add the little teddy bear, and I do cut out that phrase on top and use it like a tiny word sticker. And that is a good way to repurpose something that you like, but you might not like the bulkiness of that big shape, the big square kind of. It's not as big as a Project Life card, but it's big enough to be that it has to be a main embellishment if you're using it. So just pulling out some wood veneer, some buttons, one of those hearts there that I'm using, moving around there is laptop decided that it had finished with its battery power without really appropriately letting me know, and I had to stop, plug it in for a moment and then come back to the recording. So I'm just sticking down the embellishments There's no real 100% rhyme or reason to it. Inkie Quill put one over to the left and then a bigger bunch over to the right above her title. And I do put a bit of extra on the left. I'd just like a little bit more a balance, but I just have a fiddle with what's going on. So I have this lovely, cute little dinosaur wood veneer, and I have no idea where that came from. And I've got that green ribbon, which I actually swapped for a blue ribbon, a flare button, some other wood veneer, some little hearts and stars, just so that it ties in that wood veneer dinosaur. I'm just adding this label here, not for journaling, but just for an extra pop of colour and a base to the embellishment cluster. So if you're ever feeling like you want to make your embellishment cluster come together, I like to put a label in there so that it grounds it all and it's all connected to something, if that makes sense. So I'm just having a look at these sticker sheets. Most of them I think are simple stories, and just pulling out some of the words because I was trying to work out what else I wanted in the cluster, but I had to give myself a little minute from a break from that so that I could come back. So on go those tiny word stickers, and on goes the rest of the cluster. So there's not really, there is a lot going on in terms of I'm sticking things down and making it look the way I would like it to look in terms of an embellishment cluster. But in terms of telling you, I don't need to tell you every step when you can see that, yep, I'm sticking down a wood veneer. So I'm just going to finish it off the embellishment cluster. Then I do add some journaling underneath the title and a doodly border, just like Inkie does on her layout. It went so well together, and the way that I've copied so much of her layout, but also the way it was just coming together, it just needed those things anyway. So it was a good design, and definitely a reason why we chose that layout, so that because we liked the style and design, that it went together so well. 2, we love Inkie Quill, and then 3, it would work with our design as well, our style. So as you know, sometimes you can scrap lift someone, but it would be totally different if your style was totally different, and it might make it a bit more trickier than you would like in terms of scrap lifting. I like to use scrap lifting as a tool to help me get back into scrapbooking if I've had a week or 2 off and I'm not feeling very creative and my mojo is down. Doing a scrap lift means that you don't have to think so much, and it just gets you in that creative mind frame and will get you started, and you'll end up creating your own without scrap lifting in no time again. So just using my pen here. This is a Bic pen, and I really like them for normal writing as well as for scrapbooking. So it's actually a Bic Gelosity 0.7 pen, and I brought them in blue and black, so I use them for everyday writing as well as for scrapbooking. And it is a beautiful, amazing pen. They are a little bit expensive in Woolies. Woolies is the only place I've found them, or it's also really the only place I've looked for them, but they go on sale, so just get them when they're on sale. That's true of all things really. So I actually cut down those little cursive bits on the title so that it was more concise back then, and I'm just adding the finishing touches just before I call it the end, and you will see the close-up in the end. So catch us next Sunday for another scrap lift, and if you've got any ideas of who to scrap lift, let us know down below, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great day. Bye.